I have two of my favorite cars, two BMW 3 Series, and we have the current model and the model previous to it, the F30 that we already compared with the E90. If you haven't checked out that video, link up here, please make sure to check it out. But today we have the latest and greatest, and we have the one before it. We're gonna go over a few of the differences, similarities. Mainly this video is gonna be driving experience, because this one is a 335, which is comparative to the M340i of this generation, but this is only a 330i. So engine wise, it's kind of out of the question for these. This one's a bit quicker. But everything else, chassis, suspension, interior space, technology, we're gonna go over a little bit of those. Let's get under the hood and just look at what the differences are. G20 comes with a few motor options. This is the B48 4-cylinder. It's a newer version of the 4-cylinder engine that came in this, which was the N20, that had a few timing chain issues. Later 330i F30s also have this motor in them. So for the more powerful engine options, this is the 335i 2012 F30. It came with an N55 twin screw turbo, made around 300 horsepower. On the newer cars, they upgraded to the B58, better internals. It's a more reliable engine, and it makes about 380 horsepower, I think, in the M340i or the 340i F30. So on the exterior of this thing, we have some cool headlight. We lost the round halos on this generation. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but this car is just looking less traditional than the old F30 was. These grills are pretty cool though. They're active, so when you turn on the car, they slide out and let more air in. And before you guys comment down below, yes, I know the tow hook cover's missing. That just goes to tell you, 10,000 mile car, they need to do something better about those. They just fly off on the highway. In the interior of the F30, pretty familiar place to be. These cars have been out since 2012. This is a 2012 model, so naturally it came with the first version of the CIC, which is, it's super old and dated now. And mine came with a 6.6 inch screen, so this is an Android screen that I put on it. You hold the menu down and you swap, and now I have touchscreen. I have a lot more features on this thing. Excuse the fingerprints, it's a magnet. Gauges are pretty normal gauges, nothing fancy. This one does have the most basic gauges, but there's really not much else on these cars you can get. You can get a bigger info screen right down here. It includes your miles per gallon meter right there. As you come down here, it's pretty clean center console. You got a couple of cup holders there, one there. The seats in this thing, they're comfortable, but nowhere near the new G20. I love the seats in that thing. I think that's one thing they improved greatly on that car. So here we go. This car makes a different chime, compared to the F30. So the new iDrive on this thing is words better than the old one. Of course, you have wireless CarPlay on this thing. You have touchscreen, and the navigation's also a lot smarter. You can also see it in your virtual cockpit. This thing is, as I said earlier, customizable on the right side. You can put different stuff on it, like your horsepower, torque meter. It has a G meter, there it is. It's pretty cool. It looks nice. It's a nice font, and it also changes based on your mode. So when we put it in comfort mode or when we put it in eco mode, it changes up a little bit, make it look cooler. The steering wheel feels nice. It's the right thickness. It has the nice thumb notches on here, and also for a base non-M sport car, it's very acceptable. This one's equipped with the heated steering wheel, and as I said, the dash on this car protrudes out a little more, so it's a little less room, but it doesn't feel cramped. And it's because they wanted to allow the screen to be closer to the driver so you can easily touch it and navigate from behind the wheel. On the F30, now that I have the touch screen, it sits like up here somewhere, and it's a little hard to get to when you're driving. The center stack's pretty clean, nice design. Similar position of the cup holders. Now you have a sliding cover for it instead of the thing that I always lose. We have wireless charging in this thing, and also the new shifter in the BMWs, although this thing is pretty prone to scratching easily, but it looks pretty cool. And your stop start is now down here instead of being over here, compared to the F30. And then interior quality wise, like when I was talking about the E90 versus the F30, I had some complaints about just the material quality overall. I thought BMW slacked off a little. This car feels better built than the F30, so I feel like they kind of stepped it up after hearing some of the complaints of the plasticky interior on the F30. This car just feels a little better, everything feels a little tighter to touch. Alright, and that's all I have for the interior. Let's take this thing for a drive and see how it feels. Alright, so driving the G20 330i. Right off the bat, this is a more comfortable place to be. This car is a little bit larger in size. The cabin is bigger, more spacious. And on a second note, this car has a bunch of driver's assist now. You know, keep lane assist right there. It has, you know, the brake assist, all that stuff. You can of course turn them off if you don't want to. It does get annoying, you know, long term, but it definitely makes the car a safer vehicle to drive. As you can see, there's a bunch of more screens compared to the F30. Now we have a full virtual cockpit in this car, which is sweet. It's configurable. On the right side you can have G meter, you can have your music, and what I really like about this thing is that you can have your maps in the middle, so you don't have to get distracted off the road. You can just focus on driving. Steering wheel feels nice, paddle shifters feel solid. Same old 8-speed as the F30's had. The response is good, more or less straight line, just highway driving. Feels very similar to the F30, just a larger vehicle around you, so you have to be a little more leery of your surroundings. Although parking it is much easier, as I'll show in a little bit. We have a fantastic camera system in this car. So one more thing about this car is now you have a electronic sunroof mechanism, which is an additional point that could totally break on these cars. Just something to keep in mind. So handling wise, the big elephant in the room with the G20, it has gotten bigger, so how does it drive? Steering wise, honestly, it's just a little bit better than the F30, I think. I think that they actually worked on the steering response a little bit. It's still pretty dead, you know, it has a dead center to it. It doesn't, you know, you can't feel your tires on the ground on this car as well as the E90, and that's a given with the electronic power steering. They can't really do much to that, but in sport mode it definitely livens up. It feels better. Let's take a corner here real quick. And then as far as body roll goes, I feel like it's about the same as a, you know, non-M sport suspension F30, although it feels just like a bigger car as it is. Maneuvering it, you know, in and out of traffic or taking corners at higher speeds, you have more mass traveling with you, so you can definitely feel that on the car. Definitely the chassis feels like they worked more on it. They took people's complaints, they finally have heard us and gave us a little bit of a better chassis. The back end, when you hit a bump, doesn't get all confused and wobbly. It stays planted, and corner entry is pretty beautiful, especially for a 330i, no M Sport package or nothing. And the exit was also pretty good. The only complaint I have with these cars, electronic power steering. Aside that, this, in my opinion, definitely does handle better than the F30. However, it doesn't have that zippy little 3 Series feel anymore. It's become a pretty large sedan. Alright guys, and that's all I got for the driving experience on the G20 BMW 3 Series 330i. Now we're gonna go back, hop in my good old F30 and just feel the chassis and, you know, validate some of the feelings I had about this car versus that car. Let's go. Alright, so we're back in the F30. It's actually been a minute since I've driven my car, so it is fresh for me also to be back in here. So far, the steering feel, I'm not gonna shut up about this, is dead, but everything else about this car is pretty good. I mean, the powertrain definitely makes a big difference. This car is a lot more happy on its feet, especially off the line compared to the 4-cylinder cars. Alright, so let's take some corners in the F30. My car doesn't have the sport seat, so it's a lot less supportive, I would say. The base-to-base seats, these seats aren't the most comfortable or the supportive in the corners. And it's just that excess play in the rear end in these cars. And it's definitely a lot more wobbly. Although the steering normally driving feels like it has more feedback, but in the corners they're about the same. I think on the 330i they made it even more assisted so you can park easier and stuff, but with this it just always is in sport. Alright, so definitely, I don't know if it's just because this is a 335, but the shifts are a little quicker in this car in my experience. The 8-speed just seems more happy. It seems like it's banging the shifts just back to back, not as much delay as it is in the G20. I don't know if that's just because that's a 4-cylinder car versus this car, but it's good. Alright, so and on the highway, just in comfort mode, it's still a very comfortable cabin to just be in, cruising, but you have a little less room side to side. Although the dash in this car is a lot smaller, like it doesn't protrude as much as the G20 does, so I feel like you have more knee room, but not as much up, you know, where your upper body is. And then, you know, at higher speed on the highway, you still have the same control. It's a BMW, so you're gonna definitely feel planted on the road. However, this car just drives smaller. You can feel the corners of the car pretty easy, you know, where the front is or the rear is. It's easier to maneuver, easier to park in general, smaller chassis compared to the G20. Alright guys, and that's all I have for the comparison between the F30 chassis and the G20. If you have anything to add, if you own a G20 or F30 and you want to let me know, you know, your opinion on the stuff I discussed, this is just, you know, my personal opinion, leave it down in the comments down below. I would love to discuss it with you, learn more about the cars. And if you enjoyed the video, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And as always, peace out, and I'm out.